He and Lee Cowan are going on a quest to find diamonds in the rough. American Pickers Mike Wolfe is here. After becoming famous and wealthy on American Pickers, everything started to fall apart for him. Mike Wolfe's divorce cost him $5, $8 million, and a quarrel led to the death of his friend Frank. Now his store has shut down for an unknown reason. The show's angry neighbors and fabricated discoveries leave viewers wondering if it's real or not. At long last, the unfiltered Mike Wolfe story is making its way into the public eye. A native of Joliet, Illinois, Mike Wolfe came into this world on June 11, 1964. As a little boy, he and his family moved to Bettendorf, Iowa. He and his brothers Robbie and Beth spent their childhood there. His mother Rita worked very hard to make ends meet while raising her children alone. Wolfe was unfazed by financial constraints. Opportunities presented themselves to him in unexpected places. He altered his route, cutting through backyards and streets, to evade bullies on his way to school. It was there that he initially noticed items that others had overlooked, items that had been discarded. In the woods behind a neighbor's house, he spotted a banana seat bike when he was just 6 years old. He removed it, gave it a good scrub, inflated the tires, and staked $5 on it. It wasn't simply about the cash. It was thrilling to discover something worthwhile that nobody had dared to pursue. He felt something at that very moment. With age came a greater interest in hunting for vintage bicycles, furnishings, and artifacts. Wolfe was adamant about fixing up old bikes and rusty chairs that he brought home, even though other kids played sports or watched TV. Her understanding of his passion for his work led her to grant him permission to use the family shed as a workshop. Not only was he learning to fix things up and sell them, but he was also just collecting junk. He first focused on antiques, but his passion for bikes led him to start a bike shop. In the year 2000, Wolfe decided to turn his longtime pastime into a profitable enterprise. In LeClaire, Iowa, he established Antique Archaeology, a store brimming with fascinating artifacts he discovered during his picking excursions. He devoted his days to exploring abandoned structures in search of relics from the past. After a sluggish start, the company took off after the 2010 debut of American Pickers on the History Channel. Instantly, the show became popular. The public loved watching Wolfe and his crew search the United States for long-lost artifacts. However, antiques weren't the only thing at stake. Along with their history, skill, and previous owners, the stories surrounding them were also important. The popularity of the show American Pickers contributed to a rise in the field of antique archaeology. Wolfe expanded his retail empire in Nashville, Tennessee, by repurposing an old automobile assembly plant. Those with an interest in the past were able to meet individuals from that era at the store. The foundational principle of Wolfe's business was to recover misplaced artifacts, restore them, and then connect them with individuals who would appreciate their significance. His ability to unearth fascinating artifacts and share his knowledge allowed antique archaeology to expand beyond its original storefront. In addition, he launched the clothing line 2 Lanes, which drew inspiration from Americana road trips and rural America. A book he penned called Kid Pickers encourages children to learn about the past through collecting artifacts. However, his love for her did not end there. Wolfe had other plans besides selling antiques. To preserve America's history, he collaborated on initiatives like This Place Matters, a program run by the National Trust for Historic Preservation. In small towns, he helped restore historic homes and other landmarks. In LeClaire, he preserved the building's historic appearance while transforming a 1947 Chevrolet showroom into a shop. He played a role in revitalizing historic homes in Columbia, Tennessee, to demonstrate that the past could be preserved without sacrificing its significance. American Pickers was in the works for quite some time before its debut on television, thanks to Mike Wolfe, a lifelong picker who found beauty in the things others discarded. He was more than just another reality TV star vying for fame. Over the course of several decades, Wolfe explored rural America by car, exploring barns and sheds, and unearthing historical relics. He collected tales as well as material goods. He documented his travels to demonstrate the thrill of discovering new artifacts and the stories behind their creation. To television networks, those movies represented the meat and potatoes of his pitch. His product was more than a performance, it was a concept, an approach to history that would captivate audiences by revealing the unsung heroes who had unwittingly preserved it. For 5 years, Wolfe sought to market his concept, but to no avail. He persisted even though most networks passed on the idea of airing a show about two men searching for antiquities. His work was distinctive, and he was aware of it from the start. He finally saw the fruits of his labor in 2009. Just a few months after that, the History Channel realized what was possible and created American Pickers. The show's January 18, 2010 premiere was followed by immediate success. In the first episode, 3 individuals tuned in. With 1 million viewers, it was the most successful premiere for the History Channel since Ice Road Truckers. Within a matter of weeks, that figure had risen to nearly 4 million. The timing was perfect. American Pickers followed in the successful footsteps of history-based reality TV shows, such as Pawn Stars. Still, it stood out due to its heart. The auction was just one part of the show. People, locations, and the often overlooked historical details were the focus. The collaboration between Wolfe and Fritz was crucial to the success of the show. They became close because they shared an appreciation for nostalgia, which they had been enjoying since they were in middle school. Neither of them had a father figure growing up, and they both enjoyed the excitement of hunting. When Wolfe created American Pickers, Fritz was the ideal co-host. With his easygoing demeanor and fondness for peculiar objects like vintage toys and oil cans, he brought a warmer and funnier vibe to the show. By putting collectors at ease, he was able to capture their most compelling stories on film. Due to their natural camaraderie, the show seemed authentic. Everyone could relate because it wasn't forced or staged. It was simply two lifelong friends, enjoying each other's company. Fritz was instrumental in the show's early success, so his departure in 2021 due to health issues will be deeply felt. American Pickers was notable for its distinctive style and captivating speakers. Rather than being a simple treasure hunt, each episode felt like a journey through history. Wolfe ensured that the show wouldn't limit itself to discussing monetary value, but would also touch on cultural significance. From where did it originate? What happened to the owner of it? Why was it significant? Things that didn't appear significant became powerful connections to the past through this method of storytelling. There was a message about being eco-conscious in the show as well. In a society where everything is disposable, picking was more than simply a means to an end, it was a means to breathe new life into old items. The show American Pickers demonstrated that antiquities and historical artifacts are worth more than face value. Right from the start, American Pickers revolutionized television's portrayal of history. It wasn't about libraries or books, it was about everyday people, misplaced things and hidden tales. For over a decade, Mike Wolfe and Frank Fritz traversed the country in search of rusty junk that could be turned into priceless treasures on American Pickers. Their friendship started to fade behind the scenes, despite their joint efforts to make the show a smashing success. By 2020, all systems had failed. Fritz departed from the program that year. Initially, no explanation was provided. Despite months of anticipation, he never returned to the stage. In July 2021, Wolfe announced Fritz's separation from her on Instagram. He acknowledged the trip's ups and downs, and expressed his sadness over Fritz's departure. Fritz was unconcerned about it. After describing Wolfe's assertion as bull in an interview, he went on to say that they hadn't communicated for 2 years. After Fritz underwent significant back surgery in 2020, Wolfe neglected to follow up with him. According to Fritz, he knew my back was hurt, but he didn't call me to see how I was doing. It was as if a friend he'd known for over 4 decades had abandoned him. More than just remaining silent was at the heart of the argument. Wolfe and Fritz's opinion had become the show's sole focus. In his words, it skewed 1000% in his favor. He likened their relationship to a band, in which he would play backup vocals while Wolfe would take the lead. When people started getting sick, things became much worse. Fritz was weak and in constant pain due to his long-term Crohn's disease. After back surgery in 2020, he was unable to operate a motor vehicle. During that time, he developed a strong dependence on drugs. It seems that Fritz failed the network's drug test, which was another justification for their decision not to cast him on the show. The network had stringent policies regarding drug use. Fritz insisted he hadn't left, despite being fired. There was a public brawl. Apparently, Fritz felt that Wolfe had distanced himself from him in order to give his brother Robert Wolfe more airtime on American Pickers. Wolfe, in contrast, claimed that he had advised Fritz to seek assistance and had otherwise attempted to help him. The confrontation, he said, was painful and comparable to the death of a brother. By mid-2021, it had been officially announced, Fritz is stepping down, the History Channel said. Fans were disappointed because, since the show's debut in 2010, they had watched him and Wolfe traverse the United States in over 300 episodes. Many viewers felt the show was missing something important when he was absent. By that point, Fritz's health had taken precedence over television, but there were efforts to bring him back after that. July 2022 was a terrible month. After suffering a severe stroke, Fritz was left bedridden and partially paralyzed. There was no improvement in his health. Tragically, he passed away at the age of 60 on September 30, 2024. Reportedly, Wolfe remained by his side until the very end, regardless of the circumstances. They discreetly re-established contact in May 2023. In a tribute to Fritz's life, Wolfe mentioned on Instagram that Fritz was a dreamer who was just as sensitive as he was funny. Mike Wolfe rose to fame on American Pickers for his knack for unearthing long-lost heirlooms from forgotten barns and backyards. But he's had his reputation damaged by the years. Not all of his fans are on board with his business practices. Some even question the show's veracity. Not long ago, he caused trouble while trying to fix up a small town. These issues have altered people's perceptions of him, but they haven't stopped him. One of the most contentious episodes of American Pickers ever was 2016's Shelby in the Barn. Wolfe and John S., his co-worker, were the foci of the show, while searching for a Chevrolet light sign in Alabama. A rare 1967 Shelby Mustang GT500, on the other hand, had apparently lain dormant for over 40 years. This discovery seemed too fantastic to be true, so fans immediately began to question it. How could such a rare car appear so easily on camera? That was the question on Reddit and Facebook. In an effort to spice up the show, some fans speculated that producers scouted locations in advance and plotted their discoveries in advance. Some have argued that reality TV scenes are always premeditated, but this particular one seemed particularly scripted. Regarding the funds further eroded confidence. Despite its terrible condition and the estimated cost of over $100,000 to repair it, the Mustang was still worth around $75,000. Wolfe made an offer to purchase it, but the owner declined, citing its sentimental value. This further solidified the rumors. While some viewers felt the show needed dramatic set pieces like this to maintain viewer interest, others felt it was unnecessary. Regardless, the discussion caused many to question the veracity of what they were witnessing. Outside of American Pickers, Wolfe has also taken heat for his business practices after the find became a viral sensation. According to a 2022 client, Antique Archaeology had withdrawn from a deal in order to accept a higher offer. Online, they placed an order, received the proof, and then, for some reason, had their money returned to them. Concerned, they went to the BBB with the following statement: "I think they took a higher offer. I just want them to honor the purchase like they did originally. In response, Antique Archaeology stated that the exact same item had been purchased by two separate customers on January 21st, 2022, within hours of each other. Both payments were processed before the inventory could be updated due to an error in the system. A subsequent return was made for the second order. Some consumers persisted in their dissatisfaction following this response. Dissatisfaction with the store had already begun to build. The high prices have been a source of much criticism from customers. Some have brought up the fact that generic signs go for $900 and name brand socks for $18 as an example. Despite the company's annual revenue of around $900,000, some individuals remain skeptical of Wolfe's efforts. So he and his colleagues pledged to fix the website after the online went wrong so that it wouldn't happen again. The most vicious criticisms leveled against Wolfe are unrelated to his show or store. Because of his role in transforming Columbia, Tennessee, they are furious with him. An old house there cost him $700,000 in 2012. Reassembling it, according to its original blueprint, cost him over $1 million. That was only the beginning. As part of his strategy to attract new business to Tulane, he purchased a vacation home and a bike shop, among other things. While not everyone finds fulfillment in his work, there are those some think he is changing Columbia's reputation and driving up property prices. Concern escalated as news of a six-story condo complex with a budget of $93 million spread. The high cost of living is a major concern for some residents of the small town, while others are concerned that the town is losing its allure. Wolfe considers his work as a means to both earn a living and preserve history. A 1959 Chevrolet El Camino is just one of the classic cars in his collection that he frequently updates social media about and displays in his repair projects. His admiration for antiques, however, has not shielded him from his detractors. His impact on Columbia is a topic of ongoing debate, and many see it as raising the larger question of when revitalization becomes gentrification. It hasn't been easy for Mike Wolfe either. In his personal life, he has scoured the United States for years in search of misplaced wealth. He wed Jody Faith in 2012 after they had been a married couple for nearly a decade. Due to Jody's stage 2 non-Hodgkin's cancer, their marriage was difficult. She battled cancer for years. After receiving the diagnosis in 2013, she was officially declared cancer-free in 2020. However, they ended their relationship despite having overcome that fight together. Their split was finalized in December 2021 after a breakup in June 2020. The agreement was crucial. It was said that there were irreconcilable differences. It was more than $5 that Jody received, along with real estate in North Carolina and Tennessee. They also gave him $8 million. Additionally, she received $2,100 monthly in child support and income from American Pickers. Mike had remained an engaged and caring father, even though she took full responsibility of their daughter Charlie. He shows his love for Charlie and his desire to be there for her, despite his busy job, by posting photos of the two of them on social media. The breakup was painful, but he had to learn and grow from it. In 2024, on November 6th, Mike celebrated his 60th birthday. His girlfriend, Letitia Cleany, sent him touching texts detailing his trip and its highlights as a way to commemorate the occasion. This birthday wasn't like any other. It was an opportunity for Mike to reflect on life's meaning. His priorities had shifted after decades of traveling the world in search of antiquities and reminiscing about bygone eras. His few close friends and family are very important to him, and he stressed the need of prioritizing genuine relationships over professional responsibility. Regardless, his fondness for picking remained unaffected. It had not diminished in any way. Undeterred, he continued to travel the nation in search of one-of-a-kind items and interesting people to meet. Even after turning 60, he kept going strong. After enduring it, he came to appreciate the journey even more. For as long as he can remember, Mike Wolfe has been on the go, in search of long-lost treasure and historical artifacts. The year 2024, however, got off to an unexpected start with an issue. Unexpectedly, in February, the Nashville vintage shop, Vintage Archaeology, closed its doors. The explanation was given to him as a gas leak caused by nearby construction, which was completely beyond his control. On social media, the store's employees expressed regret and assured customers that they were addressing the issue. As of late February, there was still no definitive date for their return, despite their promise to inform. Questioning immediately ensued among the fans. Some individuals were under the impression that the closure was temporary and would end soon. Some individuals questioned whether there was a more significant affair taking place in the background. Many began to speculate that Wolfe was shifting his focus due to the nationwide struggles experienced by stores and the declining viewership of American pickers. Is the construction the only issue at the store? These kinds of questions were being raised, despite the lack of official announcements regarding anything beyond a temporary closure. The Nashville location has served as more than simply an antique store for quite some time. This spot in Marathon Village, a historic district of the city, has been a regular haunt for history buffs and show enthusiasts. It, along with Wolfe's sister store in LeClaire, Iowa, has played a significant role in the Wolfe brand. He loves finding lost pieces of history, and it's a real representation of that. However, regardless of the success of the business, there are always risks associated with having a store. Many factors affect a store's ability to remain open for business, including unexpected closures, price increases, and shifts in consumer preferences. Wolfe has been around long enough to know this, and although he hasn't commented on the store's future plans, fans are crossing their fingers that it reopens soon in Nashville. The year that ended with Wolfe's store closing was actually rather small. Already in 2024, there had been a loss in the family, and many people's lives had changed drastically. Frank Fritz, a friend of the show's and a former co-star on American Pickers, passed away in September. Their relationship had been deteriorating for a while after Fritz's 2020 departure from the show due to health issues. Wolfe was by his side in his final moments, holding his hand as he passed away. Despite their disagreements, it brought back fond memories of their lengthy history together. By combining their passion for vintage items into a show millions of people enjoy and learn from, they created something truly remarkable. Despite everything that has changed in his life, Wolfe is moving at a breakneck pace. Another round of American Pickers is returning to the road. The filming will resume in South Carolina in the month of February 2025. The producers are reaching out to locals and encouraging those with interesting stories and unique collections to participate. The show's viewership has been steadily declining over the last several years, so this might be a significant effort to revitalize it. The thing is, Wolfe has always believed his work is powerful. He has spent a great deal of time searching through abandoned storage units, barns and sheds in the hopes of finding something unique. His business empire continues to expand alongside the show. The guest house at 2 Lanes is a modest rental property, while Columbia Motor Alley appears to have been constructed in the 1930s and is a hangout for classic car enthusiasts. Both continue to play significant roles in his body of work. Although he is juggling many tasks at once, his primary objective is to uncover the truth about his past. While Mike Wolfe's role on American Pickers has brought him the most fame, his interest in history extends far beyond the small screen. Over the years he has expanded his passion for antiques into a full-fledged career in writing and home repair. Throughout his life, he has worked tirelessly to preserve history in a way that millions of people can relate to. He has written a book called Kid Pickers to pique children's interest in history through antiques. It is one of his most substantial works outside of television. He wishes for the next generation to view discarded objects not merely as objects, but as potential storytellers in their own right. The book teaches them where to seek for hidden riches, how to research the history And why this information is crucial. This painting depicts Wolfe's worldview, which includes his roles as a collector and a teacher. He founded Antique Archaeology, a company that does more than simply pick. Out of his deep love for history, clothes and other goods influenced by his travels are for sale. Show your support for American pickers with one of many available hats, t-shirts, and other merchandise. But it's more than that. It connects people to his journey and gives them a piece of the world he created. The first is in LeClaire, Iowa, and the second is in Nashville, Tennessee. Both are actual stores. Two stores are more than just stores. They contain one-of-a-kind items that he has discovered during his travels. These stores breathe new life into the past. However, Wolfe isn't only interested in buying and selling antiques. No matter what, we must preserve the sites of historical significance. Along with his close collaboration with the National Trust for Historic Preservation, his fame aids in raising awareness about potentially irretrievable historic structures and locations. Among his most significant endorsements is This Place Matters, an initiative that encourages the preservation of sites that serve as reminders of America's past. He doesn't merely preach the importance of preserving history, he puts his money into buying and renovating historic homes. He purchased an empty lot in Columbia, Tennessee, that had been sitting empty since 1947. Instead of demolishing it, or making it look completely different, he meticulously restored it, while preserving its original style. Not only is the building now a store, but it also serves as a prime example of how historic structures can be revitalized. In addition, Wolfe has invested much in the improvement of small towns as places to live. He is aware that the loss of older structures causes more than just physical damage to towns. Their identities, businesses, and memories are wiped out. That's why he invests in towns like LeClaire, Iowa, and Columbia, Tennessee, not merely to repair buildings, but also to help these towns create a future for themselves. Among his many endeavors, Big Backyard in Nashville stands, aiming to assist towns with less than 5,000 residents in expanding their economies, is its primary objective. This program provides funding for infrastructure, marketing, and tourism to towns like Muscle Shoals, Alabama, and Lipers, Tennessee, making it easier for these towns to attract remote workers and tourists. It is Wolfe's intention to see to it that these locations thrive rather than merely exist. He has a broader desire to preserve history than merely homes and artifacts. Buying and preserving vintage motorcycles is another one of his fervent passions. He had a profound crush on motorcycles at the age of 13. After that, he was unable to put down his motorcycle. He sneaked out and bought his first one without his mom knowing. Over the years, his collection of vintage bikes expanded to over 130. He possesses a number of unusual types, including a 1934 Harley-Davidson VL and a 1913 Indian TNN. American motorcycles, manufactured before 1920, piqued Wolfe's interest because they represent the birth of motorized transportation. In addition to collecting them, he is very careful with these bikes. Instead of having vintage motorcycles restricted to look like new, Wolfe prefers to keep them as they originally were. Every ding, scrape, and rust spot, in his mind, is telling a tale. To him, keeping them going is as important as keeping them true to who they are. Not content with simply collecting motorcycles, he also takes the wheel of them. He goes on lengthy, picturesque journeys across the nation and meets other bikers who share his passion for riding through history. Even Maggie Valley, North Carolina's Wheels Through Time has collaborated with him to showcase historic motorcycles, some of which are extremely rare or historically significant. When Wolfe sold 62 bikes at Muam auctions in Las Vegas in January 25, he became quite famous. Making sales wasn't the only goal. It was integral to his mental transformation. Instead of hoarding everything, he decided to highlight specific eras in motorcycle history so that other enthusiasts could have a chance to own something special. These bikes are more than just transportation to him. They are characters in the story that evokes a bygone era's sense of wonder and innovation.
Wolfe does all this collecting antiques, restoring buildings and motorcycles, so that history doesn't get lost. For him, the significance of an item's age is more important than its rarity or price.